Charles Kao in Holmenkollen Park Hotel in Oslo, Norway, on the third day of the International EcoTourism Conference. I'm here with TravelMole TV in association with the Travel Channel. This broadcast is being sponsored by Tourism Ventures 21.
Check out what sort of potential parks we should.
I'm here with Luna Lamarck with EcoTourism Norway, the host of the International EcoTourism Conference in Oslo. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us here. It has been one of the finest conferences in one of the finest locales, and I think your group deserves a real high compliment.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice to hear that from you. Thank you.
Give us a little background on what went into for Oslo and your organization to receive the opportunity to host the first International Ecotourism Conference.
We are really proud to be the host of this conference here in Oslo, as we are quite a new ecotourism association, and we managed to get this conference in spite of the fact that there are so many experienced ecotourism countries around the world. But I think it's the reason we got this conference to Norway is that we also want to show that ecotourism is not only about traveling to destination in Asia, Africa, and to us very far away exotic places. It could also be about traveling in Europe and this part of the world.
Peter Prakash, Managing Director of UNEP Grid from Norway. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
If you could just tell us a bit about the work of your organization, a little background, please.
Yes, UNEP Grid Arendal has just this weekend launched a major initiative, a finance initiative from tourism to protected areas. We have organized a very focused workshop with very relevant organizations like the Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity, the IUCN, WWF, Conservation International, various tour operators, and banks and financing instruments to find out whether it is possible to finance the management of the World Protected Area Network mainly out of tourism. We believe that tourism is not only a major or the largest economic sector in the world, it's also the sector most interested in protected areas. And protected areas and the biodiversity as such is a great asset to tourism. Therefore, and particular as there are existing examples which we looked at, where tourists, tour operators and also governments channel money from the tourism sector into protected areas, as these examples exist, we looked at them and try to find out whether those examples can be replicated, multiplied, in order to start a major process that you in the end probably can come even that far that you channel 0.5% of the world's tourism turnover into protected area management.
I'm with Lele Lilulu, CEO and President of Counterpart International. How are you?
Good, how are you doing? Lovely conference, isn't it?
It is really good, and I know that many of the attendees, 70 countries or so, are probably from countries where you have projects. Tell me a bit about your organization, how long it's been around, and how you've been touching countries and communities.
Counterpart International began in the South Pacific in 1965. Working with communities as they move from the colonial period through the transition to full independence. Essentially, we work with them building up their capacity both at the community level and at the governmental level, so it was equal development of both sectors of society and also helping them conserve their natural resources. So as a result of our work in the Pacific, we now have the largest non-governmental development network in the Pacific Island nations. And because of this work, working with countries in the post-colonial structures, we managed to get a lot of work in the former Soviet Union, because after the collapse of communism, that the void left was even a bigger one that was left in post-colonial times. So a lot of our programs are in the former Soviet Union at the moment. And this is again in capacity building, community-driven development. You know, people define what their needs are, and then we at Counterpart International try to find them, rather than the other way around. We believe that you have to listen to the people first, define their needs, and then we go out and try and locate it for them.
I'm here with Art Peterson. Art is with the UNESCO World Heritage, and specifically he's with the Sustainable Tourism Division. And Art and I have been carrying on a discourse for some time now about World Heritage, the wonderful things that those sites bring to the world and the challenges it brings to the world. And as we sit here today at the end of the third day of the International EcoTourism Conference in Oslo, Norway, it's an opportunity for Art and I to reflect. Art had cued me in on some of the challenges, such as number one, education, having trained managers. We're talking about protecting sites, protect the sites around the world, and we have many managers, but they don't have all the skill sets. Can you comment a little bit more about that area and what thoughts you have now? It's been 2 years since you brought that to my attention.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, what we find is that most of the people that are managing World Heritage sites come from backgrounds in biology and forestry and archaeology, or they're city managers. They don't necessarily have a background in tourism and recreation, and nor do they have necessarily links to local communities. So what we're looking at the World Heritage is to be able to strengthen the capacity of the site staff, try to get at least one person on the staff with those kinds of skills that enable that person to deal with the crucial tourism issues, deal with site management, make the links to the local community and the industry. And what we're calling those people are, it's a superhuman task.
Yeah,
but
it's a lot.
You know, but it's just to have somebody on site who is engaged in just the topic of tourism. You know, this person doesn't have to be an expert and come on the job having, you know, all those expertise. But we need a focal point at these sites to deal with some of these critical issues.
I'm here with Alexei Huntley with Nature Air from Costa Rica. Hi, Alexei.
Hello.
Tell us about your project and when it started.
Our project is a carbon neutral project for airlines. We are a domestic airline with some international flights into Panama and Nicaragua. We started the program in researching it in 2003 and basically wanted to look at global warming and aviation's impact on it. So we looked at some organizations within Costa Rica and were able to compensate roughly 100% of our emissions from the year 2004 through to 2006, and now we're looking at 2007 projects.
And how do you do that?
What we do is we look at the amount of fuel we burn. We take 100% of the fuel that we use, and then we apply that to an equation that basically gives us how much tons of carbon dioxide we're emitting into the atmosphere. From that, we're able to look at conservation projects. We feel that conservation, as a part of global warming, contributes about 25% of the Earth's global carbon dioxide. So we felt that should be an important thing. Plus, with all the tropical forests we have in Costa Rica, we looked at conservation projects. So we make sure that these tracts of lands, these biological corridors, are held for a minimum of 10 years each one. We've got about 120 hectares right now being held. And of course, trees consume carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and release oxygen.
We are here with Carlos Benavides, Minister of Tourism for Costa Rica. Well, welcome, Carlos.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Now, Costa Rica is also synonymous with ecotourism and sustainable tourism. It has certainly attracted a lot of visitors, predominantly from North America, to enjoy your nature, your culture and heritage. Tell us, what do you see ahead in the coming years? What are your objectives while you are minister?
Well, we are trying to grow by thinking about precisely that market, the ecotourism market. Costa Rica, it's a small country, as you know. We only have 51,000 square kilometers. That's all our territory. But we have 4% of the biodiversity of the world. And more than the 30% of our territory are national parks or protected areas. So we are moving in what we think we are good to do. That is having conservation, trying to motivate other countries in the world and exchange, have policies of exchanging funds for our production of oxygen. And we think that we must grow as a tourism destination, but specialized for those who really enjoy that kind of policies.
I am here with some representatives from Ireland's Green Box project, and I'm just going to ask each of you to introduce yourself and your role with Green Box, please.
Well, my name's John Rubery. I'm not actually with Green Box, I'm with the Northern Ireland Tourist Board, but we greatly support the work that Green Box are doing.
Mary Mulvey, CEO of Greenbox.
James Hanrahan, and I'm a lecturer in IT Sligo, and I run the education programs for the Green Box.
We'll start with you. Green Box is an initiative that started how long ago, and what did it take to put it together?
Okay, it began after 2002, the International Year of Ecotourism, as a very small business plan, and has developed into a network of 120 businesses across two borders, Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, with the main objective of creating an ecotourism destination in Ireland through high environmental standards, capacity building and marketing.
Which stage of implementation is it at now?
I suppose we're nearly 3/4 way finished. We've done certification and standards on accommodation, and we have an eco-label certification standard, but we also have invested up to €1 million in the product on the ground, actually investment in eco-businesses and helping businesses to gear themselves up for the ecotourism business.
The tourist office in Northern Ireland, in what way is it involved in supporting Green Box?
Well, so far we've basically been talking to them. We, at the moment, don't have a lot of funds to be putting into operations, but what we can do is to look at rolling out some of the lessons that Greenbox are helping us to learn across Ireland, north and south. So together with Fáilte Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, we're talking to Mary, we're looking at the principles and saying, well, how do we roll that out across the whole island?
In terms of education, what are you educating people about, and what are the challenges?
We're educating people on ecotourism. We developed the first ecotourism course in the country, and we deliver that course in the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland in two different venues. One was the National Field Study Centre in Derrygonley, and one was in County Leitrim. And the main issues are awareness of the environmental issues in tourism and what is ecotourism, how can we benefit by developing it, and that's about the issues, yeah.
And we're here with Peter Lunegard. Peter is a consultant in the tourism industry in Norway and also
in Sweden.
Sorry. And also with the Sustainable Arctic Tourism Association. And I want to talk to Peter because he was explaining to me some of the issues, challenges, and success stories with tourism to the Arctic region. Peter, how are you?
Well, very well. It's very nice to be here.
Tell me about tourism to the Arctic. How large or small? How long has it been? Has it been an industry?
Well, it varies very, very much. If we start in one place where it's big, it's Alaska, where you have cruise ships coming in. And there you might say it's already a little too large, at least on unfortunate conditions. It is sometimes too large. In most parts of the Arctic, it's practically non-existent, but it's a great opportunity. Companies are very small, very spread out, very isolated. Often they are with the Inuit population that haven't got the tradition to sort of look around in the world.
Andrew Stein from New York City. Hi, Andrew. And if you could tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. I'm here on a number of different bases these days. The first is I'm on the International Advisory Board for Counterpart International, which is a very large NGO supporting all types of operations throughout the world, one of their main programs being sustainable tourism. The other is I represent the private sector. I finance and help get equity and debt for high-end hotels throughout the world. So the goal of this conference is to really marry the two. Marry the high-end tourism with high-end sustainable development and see if I can make those connections while I'm here.
We're at the last part of the conference. How did it go?
We are. I think it went extremely well. I think one of the things that I feel is a little underrepresented here is the private sector. There's a lot of public sector. There's some smaller operators, but none of the larger Four Seasons of the world are represented here to kind of take a look at what's going on in this world. What I'm hoping to bring back is a lot of the experiences, a lot of the contacts that I've made here, and bring those contacts and bring that information to bear on the more established tour operators, more established high-end hotel operators. And then there's some new hotel operators that are developing now that have a green bent to them. Try to get them involved in some of the concepts that I've learned here this week.
We're here with our guests are from Russia. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and explain to us what they're doing with ecotourism in Russia.
My name is Natalia Maraleva. I'm the president of EcoTourism Development Fund Dersu Uzala, and at the same time I'm the president of the Russian Ecotourism Association. So we are working in this field for almost 10 years, and we have NGO and we also have some travel agency and this Ecotourism Association. We basically worked with Russian Protected Areas system and closely cooperate with the Russian Minister of Nature Resources, and so we produce a lot of jobs, education, training, prepare the strategy planning for Russian system of protected areas, and as well we start to work as a tour operator and invite people to visit these wonderful places in Russia. And Russia, as you know, is a huge country with a lot of wonderful places, with a lot of possibility for particular ecotourism development, which is include and nature wonderful places and local community, interesting historical and cultural things.
Thank you. So protected areas. And Elena, please.
My name is Elena Lidovskih. I am the General Director of the Ecotourism Development Fund Dersu Uzala and eco-travel agency called the same name, Dersu Uzala. Actually, we selected this name because Dersu Uzala was a native indigenous guide of one of the first explorers of the Russian Far East, Vladimir Arseniev. And later, a famous movie by Akira Kurosawa was filmed about this hero. And now Dersu Uzala, for the people around the world, is a symbol of how the person can live in harmony with nature and a symbol of guiding into primordial wildlife without disturbing its balance. And we took this name because we aspire to be the guides for the people from abroad as well as from Russia who would like to visit some very remote primordial nature areas on the earth, like Kamchatka Peninsula, like the Chukchi Peninsula, extreme northeast of our country, like Lake Baikal, South Siberia, Altai and Sayans Mountains on the border of Mongolia.
What's your name? And you're with?
I'm with Stephen Ramalepa.
Tell me what you have learned here. What are you going to do with that knowledge when you go back home?
Yes, I've learned a lot in actual fact. We came here from Botswana to learn more about what other people are doing with respect to issues of ecotourism. In actual fact, we have learned a lot, and we are going to take all what we have learned and start initiating issues that relate to ecotourism in Botswana.
Thank you.
I learned that there are a lot of passionate people that ecotourism is sorry, it's a concept that is going to change for sure the tourism industry in the future. I'm sure about that.
My name is Nikolai Maleshin. I am a project manager of UNDP-GF from Kamchatka, Russian Federation.
What have you learned from this event that you're going to take back and apply to your work?
The most important for me is the sense that I am not alone in my efforts in Russia, and there is a huge, very remarkable community of the people who are struggling for the ecotourism and peace, and they want to use ecotourism like a tool for protection of the nature. It's the most important for me to know right now.
As a member of TIE's board, I feel very honored to be in Norway and be invited to this conference along with Andrew Fairley, one of my colleagues on the board. But I was particularly impressed by the variety of countries and people that were here, and everybody had a distinct perspective on how we could partner. And that I'm going to take back to Costa Rica, where I live, to share with everybody that we have a lot of partners throughout the world that are ready to go on forward with this movement.
This is the beginning then?
I don't think this is the beginning. I think the beginning happened a long time ago, but I think that this is a critical turning point where we're finding now that the growth is becoming logarithmic in terms of how many people are going to be pursuing an active role in creating ecotourism as tourism. We'll no longer say ecotourism, we'll say tourism, which will be ecotourism.
I have to agree with Glenn. The beginning was a long time ago. I mean, the mere fact that in 2002, in the International Year of Ecotourism, we were able to get 800 people to Quebec for that first global conference, I think is indicative of what stage it had reached at that point. I think the message, Glenn, that we're getting from this meeting is albeit that there's only 470 here, but from over 70 countries, the message is ecotourism is no longer niche. Ecotourism has played a hugely important role in teaching what people would regard as the traditional tourism sector how to go about running their businesses, running their hotels, and delivering outcomes to their guests which are responsible and sustainable. And I think that I'm going on too long, but there is a fundamental linkage between the work that we have done over the last 15 years and the changes that are taking place in the mainstream sector. And it's this attitudinal shift of the guests is driving the mainstream sector to have to engage with the principles that we have been pursuing for that period.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm Pascal Long and I work for the French EcoTourism Association, and we set up a website which is voyagepourlaplanète.com, which means travelfortheplanet.com, and which is the leading web ecotourism portal in France.
What have you learned at this conference that you're going to take back and apply to your association in France?
Well, I think what I've learned more is that we should network more and learn from all of these other associations, instead of doing things on our own. I should learn from my fellow...
instead of reinventing it.
Yeah, exactly, not reinventing the wheel. But most importantly, I'm really focusing on marketing now, and I feel that we should copy the best ideas, and also really focus on the private sector.
My name is Henry Hwang. I'm representing China Ecotourism Society, and my mission here is to try to establish a network, a kind of relationship with TIEs, and we are planning to to organize a conference, an ecotourism conference in China, maybe next year or the year after the next. Okay. Yes. And I'm also a professor teaching tourism and ecology in China.
Excellent. What have you learned from this conference in the last 3 days that you are going to take back to China and apply to the tourism industry there? That something new that you've learned?
Yes, I learned a lot. First, I think some new ideas, new concept about ecotourism. In China, the concept is quite unclear because in China primarily it's mass tourism, and people believe that trip to the natural areas is ecotourism. So that's a great mistake. So in China, ecotourism is actually mass tourism. So I think it's necessary for us to communicate with the public what real ecotourism is. And secondly, I think I learned from those case studies many good practices about how to manage, how to develop, how to improve the development of ecotourism at different kind of levels, destination level, attraction level, and even business level.
David Solit, Executive Director of the International Ecotourism Society. We're here at the end of a great 3-day conference. What thoughts you have in your mind?
Well, I think I'm really excited that the conference came off the way it did. People are leaving energized, enthusiastic, understanding that there are challenges ahead, but there are real gains and real advancements over the last 5 years. And I think people are looking forward to the opportunity of growing and further enhancing the ecotourism model and making it a real force for conservation, and that's pretty exciting.
Any new thoughts that you didn't have when the conference started that has adjusted or reshaped what your mission will be in the coming months?
Well, I think there are some thoughts in terms of that I sort of came in with in terms of the need for a strong international body to really help organize and for a lot of these people, this is the first time they've actually communicated with each other in years, and there's just too much. There's too much brain power. There's too much enthusiasm. There's too much passion in this industry to leave it to a once every 5-year kind of a situation. And at TIES, we're committed to provide international forums where these people can get together on a more regular basis, whether it be virtually, whether it be in real life. I think it's incumbent on everyone to broaden the capacity of communication between the participants here and to really foster the sharing of ideas. So,
thank you very much, David. Great conference.
Thank you very much.